Attention, attention, attention. Calling all ambitious automotive sales and marketing professionals. Trust me, you'll kick yourself if you miss this week's highly important automotive bulletin. Truly, the contents does really affect you in your career as a sales professionals. Period. Don't believe. Just carry on reading to the very end. True. Jokes aside. Hold your horses. Don't drive fast into this newsletter before you even read the preview first. Alright. As a quick preview to the big increase in the yearly sales for auto industry, here are some salient points. Okay. As for starters, it's because of strong order bank. Secondly, there is an improving labor market and household income condition. Thirdly, it's the implied 7 to 12 month waiting list. Fourthly, it's the strong order fulfill booking backlogs. Last but one, it's the faster delivery of backlog orders. Finally, it's sales increase driven by demand for new model. Happy? I am sure you are. Without wasting any time, let's dig deeper into the core of the newsletter. Shall we? Thanks. Breaking news. Strong yearly sales for auto industry. Single quote. Pedaling Jaya. The strong sales registered by the automotive sector in August foretell a strong year for the sector, while strong balance sheets of listed companies signal attractive dividend payouts. MIDF research said the auto sector can be seen as a major beneficiary of the recovery in domestic consumption, despite the risks posed by higher interest rates and inflation pressures. The sector's prospects are underpinned by strong order banks and an improving labor market and household income condition, while valuations are 25% to 40% below the historical mean. Burma's Auto BHD rated a buy, with a target price TP of RM 2.36, MBM Resources BHD buy, call with a TP of RM 4.28, and UMW Holdings BHD buy, call with a TP of RM 4.78 remain our top sector picks, the research firm stated in a report yesterday. Beyond the reopening thematic, it stated that Burma's could also gain from its brand expansion following the acquisition of the Kia and Peugeot franchise, which will support the automakers' expansion in market share and above industry growth. MIDF research views MBM and UMW as proxies to the sector recovery, given their exposure to Perodua and Toyota, for UMW, which together controlled some 55% of market share in August 2. Most players under our coverage are sitting on strong net cash piles, which make up 20% to 25% of their respective market caps. This underpins attractive dividend payouts for the year, we believe, MIDF research added. It said automakers were sitting on an implied 7 to 12 month waiting list and strong order banks provided good revenue visibility for the sector moving into 2023. The Malaysian Automotive Association (MAA) stated total industry volume (TIV) for August registered 66,614 unit sales, up 36% month-on-month and 272% year-on-year or Y0Y, as automakers continued to fulfill booking backlogs as industry supply chain delivery improved. Kananga Research stated the strong industry number for August was underpinned by booking backlogs that had hit some 400,000 units, mostly vehicles of newer models that are currently out of stock, coupled with a low base in July 2022 after a bumper June. The exponential growth in the YOY figure for August was as a result of the low base due to the lockdown last year for the period. Moving forward, monthly sales are expected to see intermittent growth amid persistent shortage of chips and components, but will continue to be anchored by the booking backlogs. Our sector top picks are MBM TP, RM 4.30 given its market leader position in the national markets, and Burma's TP, RM 2.30 for its attractive new models in the pipeline, Kananga Research stated in its report on the sector. The strong year-to-date TIV number of 447,209 units had led Kananga Research to revise up industry sales numbers for the year by 8% to 650,000 units, which is higher than MAA's target of 630,000 units. Our revision is based on faster delivery of backlog orders with the easing of parts supply shortage for certain models. We expect earnings in subsequent quarters to gradually normalize to pre-pandemic levels, backing our forecast sector earnings growth of 23% in financial year 2023, which should justify sector price earnings multiple gradually reverting closer to the mean, it noted. Kananga Research forecasts sustainable car sales into 2023, driven by new model launches and expects minimal order cancellations with demand outweighing supply given the massive backlog orders to the tune of 400,000 units. Not to sound like a parrot, allow me to repeat only the key points. Okay. As said earlier, the huge yearly sales has jumped to a high level because of the robust order bank. Then there's a huge demand in the labor market and a state of healthy profits conditions. Moreover, there's the implied 7 to 12 month waiting list. Plus, it is the robust order to fulfill due to backlogs. Not forgetting the quicker fulfillment of backlog orders. Lastly, it is increased demand coming from calls for brand spanking new models. To conclude in a nutshell regarding the tremendous yearly increase of car sales, its importance cannot be overrated. True. Simply for the fact it greatly affects us, the car trade in the country. You better believe it's the real truth and nothing but the truth. At this juncture, it's the best place to examine ourselves on what can we learn from this bulletin. Writing from the depths of my heart, I must confess that we must endeavor to help the car industry to grow by leaps and bounds. Can we say a big yes to that? P.S. Although this is a lengthy sales and marketing automotive newsletter, yet we want to congratulate you for watching and reading this bulletin completely. Since you already read this news, therefore, you now deserve more forthcoming weekly free chapters of the book, How to Apply Sales After Sales Tips and Techniques for Greater Selling Success. Plus, we are eager to know which part of this sales and marketing automotive newsletter you learned most. Your feedbacks would help each other be more proficient and professional. Remember, these sharings will continue in YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and of course in our author, trainer and consultant's email, josephsung@gmail.com. Upon request. Alright, thank you. We hope to meet you again next week. Goodbye and best wishes. From me, yours truly, Madam Sophia, the virtual presenter to CTM Joseph, the 8th of October 2022.